Hey everyone, it's Jepse. Today's commissioned build will be on the Razer BlackWidow V3 Mini-Hyperspeed. It's going to be my first commissioned build of a, gamery keyboard, you would say. Definitely not something that you would mod every day. So other than the keyboard, inside the box comes the user manual, some nice Razer stickers, a thank you / warranty card, and a pretty decent and sturdy Type A to Type C cable. So this keyboard offers 3 modes of connectivity. You have Bluetooth, 2.4 GHz wireless, and of course wired. On the bottom you can actually house the dongle in this nice transparent slot or housing, which makes it easy to store. Then you can change the feet typing angle between 6 degrees and 9 degrees as well. The keycaps that came with this keyboard are Razer's proprietary keycaps, and I believe they are double shot PVT. Really nice translucent lettering, obviously for the shine through of that nice RGB that Razer is known for, and for those icons or for those keycaps that do have kind of an extra functionality such as mute, volume up, volume down, start, pause, etc, etc. They are nicely placed in the front of the keycap. The switch that was used are Razer's proprietary switch. It's the yellow, which is silent and linear. So let's take a listen to it stock. So the first thing we have to do is take out the keycaps from the switches so that we can pry open the case, desolder the switches one by one, and open them up and lube them as well. So some of the stabilizer stems from Razer's stabilizers that come with the board tend to actually come off, and I did not know that prior, but you'll see later on what I did to mod them and make them sound pretty good. So since this is not a hot swap board, meaning that you can't just replace the switch by taking it out and just replacing it, you'd actually have to manually desolder them. In this case, I have a desoldering gun in which I can melt the solder and it can go straight up into the mechanism. And once the 2 pins are out, you can go ahead and take out the switch, open it up, lube it, mod it, make it sound nice. The switches that came with this one are the Razer yellows, which are silent and linear. These were honestly pretty smooth already outside the box, but I went ahead and just did a little lubing job on them, just so that they can feel just that tad bit more premium than stock. So when you open up the switch, you have the top housing, stem, spring, and bottom housing. With this Razer switch, it comes with a nice translucent plastic part where the RGB LED goes in order to accentuate that nice RGB coloring. Here is the stem from the Razer stabilizer. Again, these are not really your standard stems. These actually clip onto the wire itself, which, as we can tell from the stock sound test, kind of made it a bit rattly. So here's what we did to fix that. I went ahead and lubed the inside of the housing with 205 G0, just a very light coating all around on the inside. And then I just took some dielectric grease on both ends of the wires and just reassembled them. I also went ahead and lubed all the switches with 205 G0 on the stem and 105 G0 on the spring. We also did a form of the band-aid mod, which you'll see in the next clip. You put a little bit of medical tape, which will reduce the rattle so much. So after we put in all the switches, it's obviously still not done yet. We definitely have to solder, and this was didn't take that long, I would say, but it did take some time to kind of get all the solder correctly onto each switch. Again, kind of like how you desoldered them, you have to kind of reverse that process and melt solder onto the switch in order for the switch to reactivate into the PCB. So here now we screw the board back together with the endless amount of screws that come in from the top plate. And we actually run into a bit of a problem here with my desoldering job. So I'll explain that in the next clip. But if you guys are enjoying the content so far, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like and consider subscribing. I do have a lot more plans on the way, so stay tuned. So as you can see, I screwed in the board and actually tried to test it out on my computer. However, I ran into a little bit of a hiccup. While desoldering, I actually stripped one of the sockets, I would say. And so the right arrow did not work. So I looked online, I tried my best to figure out what was going on. Again, the right arrow didn't work. So what I had to do was make a bridge connection from the down arrow key to the right arrow key. So what this does essentially is allows me to grab the connection of one switch and allows me to bridge it to the other one so that the right arrow key works as well and it registers. So the plan was to take a spare wire that I had, strip the wire from its heat shrink, and from both ends solder one of them to one of the pins on the down arrow and the other to the right arrow, one of the pins on the right arrow respectively. This wasn't my best job. Obviously I covered the switch hole which I later fixed. I didn't film it on camera, but I definitely fixed it. I rerouted it underneath, so obviously the pin or the switch could clear it. Again, this was my first time doing anything of this sort, but we got it to work, so I was super stoked about that. Definitely a great learning experience, so this is actually really fun. The one thing I would definitely advise is to just be careful when you solder. The iron can get really hot and so can the metal, so if this is your first time doing it, again, just proceed with caution and be careful. So the next thing that we'll do is just reassemble the board just like how it was. We're going to go ahead and put all the keycaps back on and just make sure everything's in its right place. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. This was a pretty scuffed build on my part. Again, everything that happened wrong was user error. So again, obviously that was my fault, but definitely a learning experience. And I definitely want to take on more soldering challenges and boards like this. Even though it looks exactly the same, it definitely doesn't sound the same. And you guys will hear it very soon. Thanks so much for watching. Later.